Missed an episode of your favorite podcast? Choose from over a decade of content in our archives, not just the latest episode. All free at gcnlive.com.
This is your call to action. Get prepared, America. Economy, survival, energy, disasters. This is USAPrepares.com. Informative radio, educational radio. Interact now by emailing instructor@USAPrepares.com or text at 434-390-7953. Class, please take your seats. Now, your instructor, Vincent Finelli.
Hello, everybody. This is Guineith Isaacs sitting in for Vincent this week. If you'd like to give us a call, of course you're quite welcome to. Our number is 866-582-9933. We'd more than welcome your call. We have as guest today Dr. Joe Wallach. Patrick is engineering the broadcast in Minnesota. And, I'm not sure if Dr. Wallach is there yet, but as soon as he comes online, that'd be great. Are you there, Dr. Wallach? Apparently he's not there yet. Anyway, it's been a really, really great week. You know, I had an absolute ball helping Vincent with the broadcast. We've had so many fabulous guests. Dr. Norm Shealy, and earlier on, not this week, but last week, we had Richard Allen Miller on Friday. And, we just had an absolutely marvellous time. We're having Marty Barrett in the second hour. And, so that's she'll be talking about, what it's like for me to do my work that I normally do, because I work as a telephone psychic. I work with one of the biggest companies, psychic companies in the United States. But it's a really, really interesting type of work. And it probably will go into generally what it's like to telecommute and work from home anyway, because a lot of you out there who are interested in preparedness might be interested in doing, work online, working from home, working over the telephone, working over the internet. And there is, in fact, a special skill set that is required there. So we'll probably be talking about that in the second hour. Do we have Dr. Wallach here yet? No, he's not. Okay. All right. Now, what I'm going to be talking about with Dr. Wallach today is nutrition, and especially here on the farm at our place, we grow a lot of our own vegetables. We've got fruit trees in. We live in a semi-arid climate. We do permaculture gardening. But the importance of good nutrition in the diet, it is absolutely vital. And the vegetables and the fruit that you get in the supermarket, they might look good, but really they don't have the nutrition that they should have. And a lot of the reason behind that is that they're often not produced using animal manures, and they're often not produced using wood ash as a fertilizer. And there's a very, very good reason for that. People aren't using wood fires in their homes anymore. In many places, it's actually illegal to use a wood fire to heat your home. This is, this is for a variety of reasons. Wood fires actually do produce smoke. They were creating, in a lot of places with high population densities, they were creating a considerable pollution problem. But the reason why the global bureaucrats have decided to try and do away with wood fires is because they supposedly emit carbon. And there's a video out there where Bill Gates comes onto one of the TEDx talks, and what he does is he has this equation: carbon equals population by something by emissions by growth, or something like that. Okay, it's quite a famous. If you type into your favourite search engine or into your favourite video sharing site, Bill Gates TEDx talk, you'll probably see it. And he says flat out that one of these has to go to zero. And for one of those to go to zero, for carbon to go to zero, like the Green Police want it to, then one of those, population, emissions, growth, is going to have to go to zero, or the carbon that's produced in the manufacture of goods. So manufacturing is going to have to go to zero. And do you know something? That's really not practical, because if any one of those goes to zero, you're actually going to be looking at the death of the human species. And Bill Gates is relying on all of our stupidity to not realize exactly what he's saying. Okay? The whole carbon dioxide thing. Carbon is a gas. Carbon dioxide, that is a gas that plants breathe. They convert the carbon into cellulose and energy and water. That's how they live. And they produce, as a byproduct of that, oxygen, and they breathe it out. Okay? That's where our oxygen in the air comes from. The oxygen that we produce is the O2 in CO2. But plants take in CO2, they split off the carbon, they turn it into cellulose fibers, wood and leaves, okay, and bark, and all the other wonderful things that trees produce, and other plants as well. The O2 gets broken off, and that is the air that we breathe. And Bill Gates is relying on all of our stupidity in his, support of this emissions taxation regime that they're trying to bring in. For the moment, it's failed in the United States, but other countries, Australia especially, are certainly going forward with it, relying on everybody's stupidity. And what it is for, it is actually code for trying to vastly reduce the population of the planet. And don't believe me, go and look up that Bill Gates video, his TEDx talk. He also touches there on vaccinations. And he says that through a regime of vaccinations and improved health procedures, that we are going to have population reduction. Notice that he doesn't say there's going to be a bunch of people's lives saved here. He says that all the so-called improved health practices and all the so-called vaccinations are not for saving anybody's life. On the contrary, the purpose for all these things is actually to reduce population. And that can only mean one thing, or it can only mean one of two things, rather. It can only mean either directly killing you through the vaccinations and through the allopathic medicine, or ensuring that you are so infertile and so sick and so crazy that you will never, ever, ever breed. I'm not sure if Dr. Wallach is there yet. Are you there, Dr. Wallach? No, not yet. Well, I'll keep talking. Hello? Are you there, Dr. Wallach? Hello? Oh, good. Hello, Dr. Wallach. Are you there? Hello? Hello, Dr. Wallach. Okay.
Yes.
Hello, Dr. Wallach. Are you there?
Okay, I am here.
I'm not sure how much of that rant you heard, but I'm sure that you wouldn't disagree with much of it.
Okay, well, I did not hear any of it. I'm sorry.
I started out talking about wood ash on the gardens and about how
that's my favorite subject. Yeah.
Yes, we're actually wood ash gardeners here. We have wood fires, and the ashes from our wood fire go onto our compost heap.
Okay, is Vincent still out?
Yes, he is.
Oh,
yeah.
Is he going to be okay?
Yeah, he'll be fine.
Okay.
He just had other things going on the farm this week.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I apologize. And what's your first name?
My name is Guineith Isaacs.
Guinevere.
Yeah, and Guineith. Guineith.
Okay. Guineith.
Guineith. Yes. Guineith.
Guineith. Okay. Perfect.
Guineith. Yes.
Guineith.
It's a Gaelic form of Jennifer.
Okay. Everybody calls you Jennifer?
In real life, a lot of people do. But normally when I'm doing writing and broadcasting, I use Guineith as my name.
Guineith,
and
okay.
I had a Scottish Highlander for a husband. So when I was married to him...
You sound like you have a little bit of an Aussie accent.
I live in Australia.
Yeah.
Yep. And
that's why you have an Aussie accent.
Yeah, and I have a off-grid farm here of about 60 acres, and I'm setting it up as a permaculture farm. So we do organic farming here, and and
we have both a liquid and a granule fertilizer with 78 minerals in it. We grow, 15-pound sweet potatoes and increase the yield of everything by about 250%.
Oh, wow, that's amazing.
It's called Bloomin' Minerals.
Yep. That's really amazing. Well, we're heading into a break. Hello, everybody. This is Guineith Isaacs speaking here. I'm here this morning. I'm keeping the seat warm for Vincent. I'm here this morning with Dr. Joel Wallach, and I believe we were just about to start talking about using wood ash on the garden and the reason why people don't do that anymore.
Well, again, thank you so much for sitting in for Vincent. We'll look forward to him getting back, but appreciate all your efforts. And basically, we used wood ashes for thousands and thousands and thousands of years as a fertilizer for garden all over the world. It was the common fuel. Wood was common fuel throughout the world, and everybody learned instead of putting the wood ashes into the recycling bin to save the earth, they'd put it in the garden. What they didn't know was that wood ashes are not ashes. Wood ashes are really 95 to 98% minerals that the tree sucked up out of the ground. When you burn the carbon, from the wood, the powder that's left we call ashes, but really it's 95 to 98% minerals. And a plant, regardless of plant, whether it's an oak tree or corn or tomatoes, actually only require 3 elements from the soil, and all vertebrates, including human beings, require 60. And so it depends on where you are on Earth, because nutritional minerals do not occur in a uniform blanket around the crust of the Earth. They occur in veins like chocolate or ice cream. So some places will have 14 minerals in the soil, some places will have 25, some will have 40, and so on. And it depends by just dumb luck, thousands of years ago, where you lived, how many minerals you were getting, and how long you lived, and what disease you got and didn't get. Well, this kind of remained the way things were for thousands and thousands and thousands of years until 3 o'clock in the afternoon, Monday, September 4th, 1882. At 3 o'clock in the afternoon, Monday, September 4th, 1882, Thomas Edison pulled the switch on the first commercial electric generating plant. Within 10 years, every town, every municipality, every city in the industrialized world converted to electricity instead of wood for fuel. And, of course, there were no wood ashes in your home when you fueled your home with electricity, and nobody knew that they were getting their nutritional minerals from the wood ashes. And so they didn't replace that lost source of nutritional minerals. They didn't replace that source. With anything, and so that's why we got the Dust Bowl. We got the Great Depression. We got diseases that nobody had heard of for thousands and thousands of years. And as a
Wow.
result, we have all these pre-existing conditions and blah, blah, blah. We have all these birth defects, which never bothered people back in the old days. And it's one of those things where we have to supplement. Now, remember, my background is I'm a veterinarian as well as a physician. And we learned in veterinary medicine we could prevent as many as 900 different diseases just by supplementing. This includes birth defects, of course, and diseases that the medical system has dubbed as genetic or autoimmune, things like type 2 diabetes, arthritis, high blood pressure, heart disease, Alzheimer's disease, fibromyalgia, lupus, arthritis, bone arthritis, bone spurs, kidney stones, liver cirrhosis. All these things are all just simple nutritional deficiencies. Every birth defect is a nutritional deficiency. And so we have to consciously supplement because, again, plants only require 3 elements to look healthy and make good seeds for the next generation. But all vertebrates, including human beings, require 60 from the soil. And so you're running on 57 short. Now, I determined this because I actually did a big project for the National Institutes of Health during the 60s and 70s, a 10-year project. They did 20,000 autopsies, 10 million chemistries looking for pollution as a cause to deaths from simple natural causes or pre-existing conditions, they call them today. What I found out was that every vertebrate, whether you're a hummingbird or a crocodile or a human being or a deer or an antelope or a rat or a rabbit or a dog or a pig, if you're deficient in the same nutrient, you get the same disease. And so I'm finding crocodiles with type 2 diabetes. I'm finding hummingbirds with sickle cell anemia, all this kind of stuff. And that's because, again, we're not getting the nutrients. So you do have to supplement. So that's kind of where we're at. And Vincent, dealing with farm animals, realized we have no health insurance for animals like we do humans because we learned how to prevent and get rid of these diseases just by simple nutritional supplementation. And with the exception of antibiotics, there's not a single prescription drug that cures anything. All prescription drugs, except antibiotics, only treat the symptoms. And so that's why we're in trouble.
Yeah. Gosh, you know something, I know that what you're saying is true because I have a horse. And I know about horse nutrition. We'll talk about that some more on the other side of the break. Hello, everybody. This is Guineith Isaacs speaking again. And I'm here today keeping the seat warm for Vincent. And I have on the air Dr. Joel Wallach. And we were discussing mineral supplementation and the reason why people are getting sick all over the world. They no longer fertilize their gardens with wood ash from their fireplaces. In many places, wood fires are actually becoming, the globalists are actually making wood fires so-called illegal. So you're actually, the people who want to call themselves our government will actually fine you for using a chimney or a wood fire in your house. I don't know if you were aware of that, Dr. Wallach, but it's especially happening here in Australia.
Yes, of course, that's a movement all over the world by well-meaning but ignorant people. And so the basic problem we have is that we're no longer getting the nutrients we need from our food because we're using electricity, and wood ashes were our source of minerals. Unknowingly, people didn't know that. And so we do have to supplement now. We've done this with animals, and we're seeing another symptom of the carbon dioxide level on Earth is going up because the plant life that used to consume that carbon dioxide for its own metabolism, guess what? Those plants are dead. They don't exist anymore. And you see the Great Barrier Reef off of Queensland is dying. They said it's beyond repair. I actually have a plan. I'm submitting this to Nature magazine here pretty soon. I have a plan to revitalize the Great Barrier Reef and all the other reefs around the world. They're dying from lack of nutrition, and it's all because we've made hydroelectric plants for utilities for electricity. And the hydroelectric plants in all these great rivers around the world have cut off the food supply to the ocean. And so these little plants, things like algae, plankton, phytoplankton, which make up a greater plant mass in the ocean than all the trees on Earth put together, even the redwood trees. don't equal the plant mass that these small microscopic plants used to occupy. But they required these minerals for their food, and these minerals were coming into the ocean and the gulfs and the seas all around the world through the silt coming down from rocks being ground up by glaciers and melting snow and ice every spring. And it would come down in the silt, and of course we see this in the deltas, but this was the food for the little plants, which the little fish ate, and of course also the coral polyps that make reefs. They're all dying because we cut off their food supply by making electricity. So we actually have a plan to revitalize all the reefs in the world, including we're going to make the Great Barrier Reef the star of the whole deal. And the Great Barrier Reef will come back because we're going to make it come back. We actually know the cause, and we will, and we're in the process of taking this in hand. So we're going to not only save the Great Barrier Reef in Australia, but we're going to save the world.
Well, that's really interesting. I know what you're saying about nutrition is true because I have a horse, and a lot of people, do you know something? Of all the livestock nutrition out there that you can get from your livestock feed suppliers, most of it is actually spent on horse forage. People get so hung up on it. And here, where we live, is quite a big area in central Victoria for the breeding and training of harness racers, standard breds. Okay? And do you know something? People get so hung up who have horses with horse nutrition. And my horse, he's in really, really good shape. You know what mostly he eats? Have a guess. Grass.
Well, would you look at that? Okay.
Wild pasture.
Here's the deal. We actually
Wild
get quite a bit. Yeah, we actually get quite a bit of interest from horse owners in Australia and New Zealand. And so we ship a lot of what we call our bloomin' minerals, which is our fertilizer, which has 78 minerals in it. You get horses that are lame. They get back problems and stifle problems and neck problems.
And it all goes back to nutrition, horse nutrition.
Yes, exactly. And so what we do is we put 1 8-ounce cup of our bloomin' mineral granules is 1 8-ounce cup of the calcium supplement you put in the garden that's been tested so there's no toxins in it. And so you get 1 cup of the bloomin' mineral granules, 1 cup of the bone meal is what I like. I like the bone meal. And then 1 cup of something like Ralston Farina's Omlene 500 or 300. Mix those three things together in a 1,000-pound standard bred horse. They take 2 doses a day, 1 full dose breakfast, 1 full dose dinner time. And it will protect their cartilage and ligaments and tendons and bones. And if they have a problem, the problem goes away because the body's looking for these raw materials, and you're guaranteeing getting them in the proper ratios. And of course, people can get a hold of this. Right. Gwyneth, people can actually get a hold of this bloomin' minerals and the information from our local guy there in Branson, in Springfield. His name is Jim Stewart, and our friend Vincent always gives out his phone number. I don't have it off the top of my head, but you may have it there.
Okay, I think I've got the number here. I think that Vincent gave it to me. If you just give me a moment, I'll look it up in my book. If I can't find it immediately, I'll look for it in the break. Okay.
Okay.
But this is the thing. People don't realize this is actually a problem for them as well, and the reason why horses tend to get malnourished in minerals is because they are so large, and when they are in work, they sweat, and they lose minerals through their sweat. And when we are doing athletics training, when we, especially people who have a very physical life, either through athletics or because they do manual work, they have to be doubly certain that they're keeping their mineral load up because we lose minerals through our sweat as well.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, people hydrate. They drink water, and they think they're doing well, and that's why they get problems, and they die early because they're sweating out all these nutrients. And as they're nutrient storage levels get lower, they finally break down in their joints, and they get high blood pressure, and they get diabetes, and they become obese, and then they die. And so it's one of those things where we have to be conscious of this. We have to be smarter than the Yeti, which disappeared because it couldn't keep up with what was going on in the world. And we have to be smarter than that. And we have the capacity to survive, even if the Earth as we know it ends. But we're not going to let that happen. Again, as we said before the break, longevity and all of our army of customers and distributors, we have a plan that will allow all the reefs in the world to come back and flourish again, including the Great Barrier Reef off of Queensland. And there's been 5 previous extinctions, and they all came down to the same thing. For instance, to my knowledge, the last volcanic eruption in the Queensland area of Australia was 6,000 years ago. Well, all that mineral that came up with the ash is now gone. And so, and then we have all these hydroelectric plants, the hydro plants on the rivers in Queensland going out to the ocean. And that was the food for the Great Barrier Reef. And so once they were all dammed up, what little nutrition was going down into the ocean has been stopped up behind these dams. And so the reef is just simply starving to death.
Yeah. With Queensland, there's a few different issues there. I used to live for a little while up in southeast Queensland, not central and northern Queensland, where the catchment of the Great Barrier Reef is. Incidentally, I'm also an environmental scientist, and I got a Bachelor of
Science. You understand what I'm saying?
From the University of Melbourne, I do. But the issues with the Great Barrier Reef are a little bit different. It has to do with pesticide loads. Okay? We're being told through the media that it's carbon emissions and so on and so forth. That's actually not true. That's exactly right. That's incorrect. But
see, the reason why the carbon dioxide is going up is because all the little plants that used to consume it are not there anymore, and so just the standard background of carbon. Yeah,
that's true to a degree, but as well as that, there's political things going on that are not broadcast in the press with regards to this whole carbon thing. But anyway, that's beside the point. The Great Barrier Reef is dying, and I would be really interested to hear your plan about it. About how to save the reef. If you want to go into more detail.
It'll be published here in the next couple of weeks, and so people will be able to get a copy of it.
Okay, well that sounds great. I'll look forward to hearing it. I look forward to reading it. Yeah, because that's one of the areas that I studied when I was in university. Was about the Great Barrier Reef, and it is a terrible shame. It's been under a great deal of stress for many, many years, but it is a big problem worldwide where the farms are getting the daylight sprayed out of them, and they're not getting the nutrition put into the soil. They're getting the nitrogen, the phosphorus, and the potassium. And they're generally getting very little else. And you're absolutely right there. It sucks the nutrition out of the soil. And also there's, what it does is it raises the salinity levels. It upsets the alkalinity of the soil. And because of that, the salt levels in the soil increase as well, because all of that is all dependent on pH of the soil. And you're right, it is absolutely massive, massive problem.
We'll tackle it when we come back.
Yep, no, that's great. I'd love to speak about it.
Don't forget the number.
I won't. I'll have a look for it now.
We'll be right back.
Okay, thank you. Hello, this is Guineith Isaacs speaking here. I'm keeping the seat warm today for Vincent Finelli, and I have Dr. Joel Wallach, and he's with me here. Unfortunately, Dr. Wallach, I did write that phone number down. Vincent gave it to me earlier, but I have to explain the situation here. We live off the grid. At a certain time each night, it's probably after 12:30 at night here, after a certain hour of the night, the lights go out because we don't have a generator, we just have solar panels, and I've got firelight and I've got small solar lights. And I'm not able at this time to locate the phone number, okay? I know that it's written in the book, but the light levels that we have are not, it's difficult to read in this light level, okay? And I have my handy-dandy wood fire. What was that, sorry?
What happened to your pet bat?
My pet bats.
Yeah, they can read in the dark.
I wish I could. I was having a look through the notebook by firelight because we have a wood-fired stove here, but I couldn't see it. But I'll tell you what, I'll have a talk to Vincent and I'll see if we can get that phone number actually put on the USA Prepares website. Because people really do need to get to it.
Yeah.
You know, they
need to make
they do
sure
need to find it easily.
90. Yeah, they need consciously to take the 60 minerals, 16 vitamins, 12 minerals, and 3 fatty acids, because these things are no longer found in the food. They're no longer found in the food. So if we don't supplement, you're going to wind up with obesity, diabetes, high blood pressure, heart disease, cancer, liver cirrhosis, fibromyalgia. It's amazing, all the diseases, Alzheimer's disease that are caused by nutritional deficiencies. And most of them are actually caused by doctors for telling people just eat well. And they say, oh, don't waste your money on supplements. Every doctor who says that really should be put in jail because they're killing people and by telling them not to supplement. So somebody needs to go to jail here.
Yeah, but you're right, because, the vegetables that are grown in commercial market gardens, they're all fertilized with NPK fertilizer. That's nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium fertilizers, okay? And if they're lucky, they might get some urea. But that urea used to be made from urine. It's no longer made from urine. It's made in a chemical plant using the Haber process, using a sophisticated petrochemical process. It's no longer made from human urine as it was 100 years ago. And you're right. Absolutely a problem.
It's just a growth agent. It's not a nutrient.
Okay.
For human beings, and of course, you get too much uric acid, you get gout. And so it's kind of like fertilizer made from animal manure. Animal manure will drive plant growth, not because there's any nutrition in it per se, but it does have lots of nitrogen in it, and that's what drives the bugs in the earth to grow, which then they chew up the rocks and make the plants get those minerals. And so, but if there's no minerals left in the soil, then you still can't get any bacterial growth in the soil, even with manure.
So farmers who fertilize their crops with urea, they're doing that. They're making lovely big plants, but it's not necessarily good for us to eat them.
That's correct. That is correct, and that's where things break down, because you can eat a beautiful tomato. It tastes good. It's big, but it only has 3 elements out of the soil, and we need 60 out of the soil. That's where our basic program is different from anybody else's. They say, oh, we have 19 nutrients. It's total nutrition, complete nutrition. Well, we have all 90. That's complete nutrition. You're almost 20 short if you're just eating plants. And
then you'd live to be 100 or more.
Exactly. That's
that sounds really good to me.
Thank you. See you next time.
Okay. See you on the other side. See you on the other side. Bye-bye. Oh, hang on. No, it's the top of the hour, isn't it? Hello, this is Guineith Isaacs speaking here, keeping the seat warm for Vincent this week. Now, before we go on to our next guest, I have actually found Dr. Joel Wallach's number. You'll recall in the last segment I said I was having difficulty finding it because we live off the grid. We have some small solar lights, and I have my wood fire burning, but I have found the number. The number for the Longevity Protocol order hotline is 417-863-7149. That's 417-863-7149. That's once again 417-863-7149. And we had an absolutely lovely time with Dr. Joe Wallach. It's an absolute honor to be able to interview him. And I've heard about his protocol for a number of years of 90 vitamins and minerals that are absolutely essential to health. And I just want to say I feel so honored that I was able to interview him in the last hour. Now, for this hour's guest, we have Marty, and she... Hello, how are you? I hope you didn't mind. I had to get that phone number out. I was searching for it.
He's an impressive guy, isn't he?
He's a great guy. Yeah, it was a real honor to be able to interview him. Yeah, and it's great to be with you as well. Vincent was telling me about how you used to work together when you were in college as lab partners.
Right. We met in chemistry lab. And have continued friendship over all these years. I don't want to tell you how many years, but a lot.
Yep. No, I studied environmental science at Melbourne Uni, and we had some lab time, in a chemistry lab, because you have to learn about so many things in there, especially to do with environmental science, things like gas liquid chromatography. And, and all of this sort of thing as well. But we won't bore the class with all of that today. But,
Well, you're quite an interesting person, too. Vincent told me that you're a psychic of sorts. Can you tell me about that?
Yes, I am. I work for one of the biggest psychic companies in the United States. Unfortunately, I'm not able to advertise myself. It's a part of my contract with them. But, I work as a full-time psychic, and I work from home over the telephone.
That's great.
And
when did you learn you had this ability?
Okay, I learned... I sort of knew that things were going to happen before they happened from about the age of 16 or 17.
Wow.
Okay. And it's been a long and difficult journey.
Mm-hmm.
I think I was listening.
These things.
What was that? Sorry?
Was it kind of unsettling and scary at first that you knew things that were going to happen?
It was actually helpful to me.
Mm-hmm.
Like, for instance, one of the first experiences was when I was 16. Actually, it was the day after my 17th birthday, and I was in a car with my dad, and I was living in New Zealand. We were driving from Rotorua in New Zealand up to Auckland so that I could get on a plane and fly over to Australia, because my sister, she almost died in childbirth, and I was going over to help her when she recovered, and I sort of never really left. And that's why I live in Australia today. And gosh, that was a long time ago. That was 25 years ago now. But the car broke down in a part of New Zealand called the King Country. And the King Country is a lot of people who live there. They're Maoris, and they believe in Maori autonomous rule, let's say.
Oh, okay.
And they don't like white people. They do not like white people. And we broke down in this area at about 4 a.m. in the morning.
Oh.
And Dad was a master engineer, and he was a motor mechanic. He was a steam locomotive mechanic. He was a jet engine mechanic. He could work on any sort of motor you could imagine except for electric motors.
Oh, no.
He would make racing car gearboxes for rally car drivers, including Possum Bourne. And anyway, he was working on the engine at 4 a.m. in the morning by flashlight, and I sat in that car and I prayed and I said, God, please make the car start. I'm going to serve you forever, Jesus, if you make this car start. And I got this, it wasn't an audible voice, but it was a still small voice inside me, said, don't worry, you'll get there. And a few minutes after that, Dad came in and turned the key and the car started. And we continued on our way and I caught my flight. But, you know...
Your first episode, kind of the first episode you remember of knowing the future?
That's the first episode that I remember. But I'll tell you what, people want to be psychic. But I don't think that they... You know, it's a long, difficult journey.
Mm-hmm.
It's something akin to being a shaman. Cliff High was talking about this the other day in one of his interviews that he had on the internet. He said people who are shamans, they're not shamans by choice. And in the Western world, I guess that would include being like a psychic or a card reader or a clairvoyant. They're not that way by choice. It just happens. And they often have a long and difficult journey to learn how to manage their ability so that it doesn't drive them absolutely stark raving crazy.
Now, do you ever hear things you don't want to know?
Well, it's not that you don't want to know, but what you've got to realize is that there's people all over the world who have this ability, whether it's in the Amazon jungle or whether it's in New York or Australia, they all report the same experience, and that is that there's a set of beings out there. There's the good ones and there's the bad ones, okay?
Mm-hmm.
And in the West, we would call them angels and demons, okay?
Oh, okay.
And these beings, what's reported by the shamans, the psychics, and the medicine men all over the world, no matter where they come from, is that these are actually real beings. And they live on another energy level, okay? And they interact with us. The angels try to help us. That would be like the variously called guardian spirits, totemic spirits, and such like. But the evil spirits, the demonic spirits, the devil spirits, they really want to harm us. But it's complicated because the devil spirits actually have the ability to impersonate the good ones, and it takes many, many years to be able to accurately discern what's going on here. And the thing is, if it wasn't something that was universal all over the world, there might be a real inclination to just dismiss the whole thing, okay, and just say, oh, that's just some crackpot down the road saying that. But no matter where you go in human society, these people emerge who, and they get knowledge and information from the spirit world, and they are able, when they are skilled, when they know how to protect themselves, and when they're able to discern accurately who the good ones are and who the bad ones are. They get a lot of useful information that can really help their own community.
And
I would say,
were you not able to tell who was good and who was bad in the beginning?
Well, I sort of always was, but the thing is, even if you are able to discern who is good and who is bad, there's another level of wisdom to know what to do with the information. just because you know something, it doesn't mean that it should be broadcast. You know what I mean?
You have to be selective what you tell somebody?
You have to be selective. You have to be diplomatic in how you share information with people so that it's got the maximum chance of being accepted. And that's it. It takes a long, long time because in the early days, I would get information and it would be accurate, and there were occasions when I thought I was getting accurate information and it turned out not to be so. That was, that's the other pitfall that lies in the way. And, it's something where in the ancient Gaelic world, they had a 20-year apprenticeship for the Druids.
But we got to continue this conversation.
What was that, sorry?
We'll continue this conversation after the break.
Absolutely, yep. I look forward to it. Guineith Isaacs speaking here. I'm with Marty, and we're discussing what it's like to live as a psychic, and basically how it all works, and how a person becomes a psychic, and what the purpose is and such like. And what were you?
I'm a psychic.
What was that? Sorry.
Do you think everybody has the ability within them? They just don't know how to use it, or do you think it's a special thing?
Okay. Everybody has the ability to be psychic. Okay. Everybody at some level is psychic, provided that they have a functioning pineal gland. Okay. Because you have dreams at night. That is actually a psychic function. It's your pineal gland trying to figure out all of the stuff that's happened during the day and the stuff that is going to happen into the future, and playing out scenarios and also giving you messages. And I am definitely with Cliff High on this one. Our psychicness tends to leak out. Even if we don't think we're psychic, you'll find that you use particular words, okay, that you'll find you'll say something, and then, a day or two or three later, you might say, oh, that's such a nuisance. I just wish, you might have somebody who's, like, for instance, an annoying neighbour. And you'll say, oh, well, I just wish that neighbour would stop, with loud music or something. And then you'll find out 3 days later that his stereo has malfunctioned or something like that.
Yeah.
That's something that happens from time to time, Or you'll say, I wish that guy with his loud music would just shut up, But then you'll find out that there's actually been a problem with his stereo and he can't play his music anymore until next week when his check comes in and he goes down to the big box store and buys another one. But that's an example of it. Noticing coincidences, noticing deja vu. These are things that the psychic ability, everybody has that, and it's fragments of psychicness leaking through to us. And everybody gets that. But the thing is, there is a difference between that and actually becoming a psychic. Actually working as a psychic all the time is a very, very particular skill set, because in a lot of ways it's counseling work. Okay? A lot of people call up psychic lines because they want somebody to speak with. And they might have big problems in their life, or maybe it's a big problem for them, but in the whole scheme of the universe it might not be so big. And you have to help them with information that is going to be useful to them to make a wise decision, but then ultimately to be able to let go and to realize, okay, that is their decision to make. And I most commonly work with tarot cards, although I also do know how to do astrology and I Ching, which is a Chinese form of divination. It generally uses coins or sticks of the yarrow plant. And I actually do have yarrow growing in my garden, but I don't know how to read I Ching with the yarrow yet. I don't think my yarrow is quite big enough yet. And I'll have to learn how to do it. But I normally use computer software to do the randomization that's necessary for the I Ching to work, because it works with coin tosses. But we'll talk about that and how the randomization can help to bring out psychic abilities when we get back on the other side of the break.
Great.
Hello there, this is Guineith Isaacs speaking, keeping the seat warm for Vincent this week. And we have a very, very good friend of Vincent's on the phone, Marty, and we're talking about all things psychic.
I can't resist asking you, Gwyneth, do you see anything about me?
Do I see anything about you? Okay.
Any psychic thing? I'm just fascinated with it.
What I can do quickly is I can get my cards out, and I'll just clear off my table, and I'll do a bit of a reading on the air to show you
great. Yeah.
something of, what my work is like, how it works. If you wanted, because I trained first of all as a scientist. I more or less learned how to read cards because I wanted to see if there actually was anything to this whole psychic thing, And not only that, my husband had recently died at that time, and I had 2 small children. I'll just hang on. There goes the phone. I had 2 small children, and I needed to make some good decisions. And so I said, well, I'll see if there actually is anything to this whole psychic phenomenon. And I guess I was thinking that if there was, I might be able to make some better decisions than what I was making at that time, because when you're in grief and you need to make decisions, it can be really, really, really difficult to do so.
Yeah,
okay? And I was having to make some really, really big decisions, and I didn't know what to do. And I had a friend give me a book and a deck of tarot cards, and I actually still have the book. I don't have the same set of cards anymore, and the book is it's got pages falling out of it. I'll do a simple 3-card reading. Is there any question in particular you would like to know about today?
Just about my children's love lives.
Okay.
I have 3 children, a son and 2 daughters, twin daughters.
Okay.
All in their 20s.
Well, I'll tell you what, I actually will lay out the 10 cards, okay? Normally my readings last about 10 minutes. I'll have to do it quick because we're probably about halfway through the segment already.
That's right.
But I'll lay the cards out really quickly now, and I'll see what they have to say. Okay. Now, here we go. I'm just about there. Right. I've just got to get my flashlight because it's we live off the grid. The electricity goes off at a certain hour each night.
Oh, wow.
But anyway, there we go. I've got it here. I can see one. I can see the children, and I can see Mum and Dad coming up here. Okay?
Yeah.
And what I can see here, one of the children is got a lot of activity. Very, very active child, but doesn't always make the best decisions.
Okay, I know who that is.
You know who that is? Yep.
I know who that is, yes.
This child needs some common sense in their head, okay? And your main role in being a mentor to this child is to help to get some of their common sense into their head. If they can manage to slow down a little bit and think before acting, they will actually accomplish a great deal on this earth. Okay? I'm getting that that's probably an older child. It's actually in a past position, so it's probably an older child. The child that's coming up in the middle of the spread, I think this is the child that you have the greatest feelings for, okay? There's a lot of emotion surrounding this child. Very sensitive, maybe sometimes overly sensitive. And what I'm sensing is maybe there's a degree of conflict between these two children. The one that's very active might sometimes take a lot of, it might just stir up this other child to sort of push buttons. And these two children especially, the interactions between them can be quite fiery. But this child is likely to be probably or has some sort of artistic interest coming up. Does that make sense to you?
It does.
Yep.
And I think you're describing my twin.
Yep. Yep. The third child, I said that the other one was the oldest. It's difficult to tell which of these is the oldest. There's another child coming up in the future position. Okay. That might be into the future. The third child that I'm seeing, okay, is in the positive feeling spot. This is probably the child that you feel best about, okay? The one that's in the middle, the one that has a lot of emotion, you love that kid, but this kid you think is probably the most likely to succeed, okay? And has a real talent with things like money and investments and management of anything to do with business, okay?
What do you see romantically for that third child? Do you see anything?
What was that, sorry?
Do you see anything regarding a romantic relationship for that third child?
I would say the daughter, I can actually, I mentioned that there was somebody coming into the future. I would say that's probably going to be a partner for the daughter. Okay? The daughter, that was, oh gosh. I'm actually getting that the daughter was the one that tended to do things without thinking. Would that be right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yep.
Her partner is going to be a real steadying influence on her. Okay? He's somebody who has a lot of common sense. Okay? he is going to really feed off a lot of that energy that she has, and there's going to be a real great love bond develop between these two. He's going to settle her down a lot. And in turn, she is going to provide him with a lot of the energy that he needs to get projects off the ground that he has planned. And it's going to be a real synergistic relationship between these two. Okay? The one with a lot of business sense, I think that he'll actually end up marrying somebody with some degree of psychic ability, okay? So, you know, that's going to, the woman, she's coming across as being quite pretty, but I'm getting the word esoteric with regards to this lady. She has a mysterious quality about her, but she's a very, very nice lady. And that's into the future. He probably hasn't met her yet. Okay?
Now, what about the emotional child?
What was that, sorry?
How about romantic relationships with the one you said, the child that was artistic and really emotional and sensitive?
Yeah. I think that he's going to be single for, I'm getting maybe the next 10 years. I don't think he'll marry until he's quite a bit older. Okay? I'm just pausing here to see if I can see. He'll end up marrying somebody. Maybe she's the woman that I'm seeing is also quite emotional, but she's maybe not so bright, but she's a very, very good housekeeper. There's a strong Cancer, as in star sign Cancer, influence on this woman's chart. Okay? And she comes across as being maybe even a bit plain, maybe even a bit frumpy. But she's once again, she's a lovely lady. She's a very nice lady. She's a good cook. And she's good at keeping house. And ultimately, they'll be quite happy together, because this woman will not create any dramas for him, okay? And he can't handle it when people make drama in his life.
Right.
Okay?
Definitely.
She's ordinary, she's a good cook, she keeps the house clean, and she loves him. And that's going to be absolutely the perfect partner for him. And other people might see him, and he's somebody who attracts attention to himself, is what I'm getting.
Okay.
He's somebody who he stands out in a crowd. People might see how he stands out in the crowd and expect his wife to be something amazing, and then meet her and find that she's very ordinary, and they might be surprised. But the fact of the matter is that he actually needs that sort of lady who can provide a great deal of domestic stability. Okay? And that's what I can see coming into the future. But it's not going to be for about 10 years. Okay?
Very interesting,
so he's going to be maybe middle-aged before he meets her, because he's fussy.
Yeah, you're right.
It's probably a good thing. It's probably right that he's fussy. And he meets this lady when he's about middle-aged, and he realises that this is the lady who's right for him. And they meet and marry within about a year. So quite quickly. That's quite all right. Have we got another segment?
We do. One more.
Oh, good. Lovely. Okay, I look forward to seeing you on the other side of the break.
Okay.
Hello, this is Guineith Isaacs speaking here. I'm on the phone with Marty, and we're talking about all things psychic this hour. Now, something just occurred to me in the break. I do actually work for a second company that does, telephone psychic readings. I am allowed to promote myself with this second company. The name of their website is asktheanswer.com. And if anyone in the listening class wants to book a reading with me, they can go to asktheanswer.com, and my profile is there. That's Guineith, that's Guineith. And I usually book in for, with Ask the Answer for about 2 hours a day, 4 days a week. And it's generally around about from 6 p.m. until about 8 p.m. Central Standard Time, Tuesday, Wednesday, Saturday and Sunday. You would have to check that. The best way to check that would be to go to Ask the Answer, go to their search bar and type in Guineith, and it should bring up my profile, my number with them, my identification number with them is 500-596. So if anyone wants to have a reading with me, which would probably be something similar to the one I just gave Marty.
Very interesting.
Feel free to give me a call. So what else would you like to know, Marty?
Well, Vincent mentioned that you have a really unique lifestyle, kind of sustainable. I'd like to hear a little bit about that.
Okay. I live off the grid. We have an off-grid solar electric system. We don't have a backup generator at the moment. Probably I won't be getting one. I think that the next time that I have money to spend on that sort of thing, I'll actually be about doubling our battery capacity and buying more solar panels. Okay? I grow... I have a vegetable garden, and I have 60 acres of land, and we live in a eucalyptus forest in an adobe mud brick house, and I try to stay as much off the grid as possible because this world out here is just absolutely going crazy. In one suburb of Melbourne last year, there were 2,400 home invasions in one suburb of Melbourne.
Wow.
That is absolutely crazy. That's like about one every 3 or 4 hours.
Wow.
And this is when people are sitting at home during the day. They're having bandits break in with knives, stealing car keys, holding kitchen knives to people's throats and all this sort of stuff. And this is in Melbourne, Victoria, Australia. And it's absolutely getting underreported in the international press. It's going crazy there. And I know that this is true because I have friends who have friends and family members that still live in Melbourne. And some of my friends have actually moved out to where I live because of the problems in Melbourne that are happening. I think, is that the end of the show?
That's the end, and I really enjoyed talking with you. Such an interesting person. So thanks so much.
You're a lovely lady, too. I look forward to hearing from you again.
Great. And hopefully you'll be back soon.
I hope he is, yes.
Okay. Bye-bye.
I'll see you later then. Bye-bye.
Bye.